so much for taking time out of your day to join us on your lunch break, or maybe a little bit before your lunch break, to hear a little bit about the new FIR app. I am super excited to tell you all about it. We are maybe going to give it another minute to give people a chance to join. I don't know about you, but I always find, like, right when I have a webinar or something that I want to join, it always turns out that the person who I'm meeting right before can't find their off button that day. And so they just keep going and going and going and chatting. And I'm like, hello, I got to get to my next thing. I got to get to my next thing. And then you end up being delayed. So, out of solidarity with people who find themselves in a similar situation, I'm just going to allow a minute or so before we begin, and I tell you all about the new FIR app. I'm excited to have you online with me today. And this is one of my favorite topics. I've talked about nothing else. And sadly, what I can confess is that it hasn't even been just in a work context. So anyone who's friends with me or knows me in real life who doesn't even work in construction, they absolutely know that the FIR team has a new app and what it's all about, because it's been all I can think and talk about for the last few months as this gets up and running. I have kids myself. I have twin boys. They are 6, and this app feels like my other baby. So, like, I have 3 kids now, or I will soon, because technically it hasn't launched. So I guess I haven't given birth to this app yet. But when I do, it will be like my third child. So there you go. A little bit of information for you, maybe even more than you wanted to know about me, but hey, you know it now. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our session introducing the new FIR app. It is a pleasure to have you with us today to hear all about it. My name is Dana James Edwards. I am the head of FIR here at Action Sustainability and the Supply Chain Sustainability School. Head of FIR, what a title! What is FIR? In case you haven't heard about FIR before, it is not about the trees. FIR stands for Fairness, Inclusion and Respect. It's the way that we talk about inclusion here at Action Sustainability and the Supply Chain Sustainability School. And a very interesting fact for you today is that the idea of FIR came from site workers. So our founder and CEO, Ian, was speaking to workers on site about inclusion, about diversity, and they started having some back and forth about who DEI is for and who DEI is about. I think those of us who work in this space know that somewhere along the way things got a little bit twisted and we lost some of the message that DEI is for everyone. And he was noodling on it, and in that moment realized he wanted to talk about it in a different way. And from that moment, a movement was born. Should everyone be treated fairly at work? Yes, of course. Should everyone feel included at work? Yes, absolutely. And should everyone be able to feel respected at work? It's the same. And it's hard to sort of argue that other way. And FIR is about making workplaces better for everyone, and we mean everyone. Now, the FIR program has grown and expanded. It's been around since 2013. We now have 550 resources and counting online, and they are a mix of toolbox talks, which are short and snappy. We also have things like e-learning modules, which can be anywhere from 15 minutes to sometimes even 90 minutes. We have helpful checklists and guides, and even case studies from other organizations out there in the industry doing the work to teach us all lessons. And all you need to access is a supply chain school login, email, and it's completely free to access all of these resources. So check them out if you haven't already. We are also launching an app in FIR. I know you know this because that is why you're here. And I'm going to spend the rest of this webinar telling you all about it. Hold on to your hats if you're wearing a hat. Where did this come from? So last year, a group of organizations across the industry, and you can see their logos there on the screen, came together to put in a bid to CITB, the Construction Industry Training Board's Industry Impact Fund, to try and solve a problem. So they all came together recognizing that there was a problem. They put a bid in to the Industry Impact Fund to solve the problem. And the problem is, how could we better impact site culture by delivering training on inclusion directly to workers on site? And they had many ideas for how this could be done. And so their starting point was really, well, what is getting in the way of this translating? Because if we say that we want to change the shape of our industry, it must include people who are working on site as well as the people who are working in head offices. So they started on this journey by trying to find out what were the things that were getting in the way of bringing this kind of learning on site. And so they went out to a variety of sites and asked the site workers lots of questions, and we learned many things. So what were some of the top things that the site workers themselves and site supervisors and managers told us were getting in the way? Well, the first is that to sign into the supply chain school, and I just told you this, you need an email address. And many site workers don't have an official company address and also might not want to use their personal email to access the school. They may also not have a laptop, and the school's site isn't the best experience on mobile. So that was one. The second was the length of time to complete. So I just told you as well that we have lots of e-learning modules in the school, and they range from about 15 minutes to sometimes 90 minutes. That's a lot of time. If you are a piece worker and you're getting paid for every piece that you complete, that's a lot of time to give up and a lot of your personal time to sacrifice. We also heard about the difficulties of learning in your second language, right? So if all of the content is in English, then you're constantly learning and trying to interpret that in your second language, which is a barrier in and of itself, because someone's conversational English might not match their level of learning English. And we also know that the reading level on site is about 10 years old. So if we really step back and think about it, how much of our content is really built for that reading age? Another barrier. Corporate language and jargon. So, one of my favorite quotes is that it sounds like we're talking to head office in most of our learning, which was very interesting feedback, needing to maybe tailor some of the ways that we express some of that learning. But then also, that some of the examples that we use when we talk about inclusion in FIR did not align with site experiences, or they weren't tailored to site workers. So it gave the sense that it wasn't for them, even though we are the inclusion people. So we thought, what could we do about this? And here are our solutions. So firstly, by creating this app, you access it using your phone number. You don't need an email address to be able to log in. It's phone based, so that's great. And of course, being an app, it is optimized for mobile. So a different experience than the main FIR site, but one that's optimized for mobile use. We also have very short bite-sized modules. None is longer than 5 minutes in length. So really short and snappy to help people engage. Content in the app is available in 6 languages, and by which I mean and I'll show you this later, you select your language quite early, and it even changes the menu options in the app to help you be able to navigate. But the videos are dubbed in different languages as well. At this point, everybody always wonders what those languages are. English, but also Bulgarian, Lithuanian, Polish, Punjabi, and Romanian. How did we decide on those languages for the launch? Well, we did some quite extensive research using CITB's data, but also data from ONS and other project partners whose logos were flashed up earlier. And these were the common denominators across all of the different languages. But the good news is that these are just the ones for the launch. What we've actually done in the app is said, not seeing your language here, tell us what language you'd like to see, and people can type that in. So then going forward, we have a basis and a data set for adding additional languages to the app, which is great. We've also simplified the language and the concepts. So we don't talk about protected characteristics, we talk about difference. We don't say reasonable adjustments, we say what your rights are. We talk about things like how we treat each other, how we make a difference, why we shouldn't assume is another example instead of bias. So we've really worked on tailoring our language and making sure that it resonates. And we also have tailored the examples and even the animations themselves that we use to reflect work on site. And there is a site worker appearing in every module. So every module you watch is introduced and outroed by someone who actually works on site. By the way, all of the content was partially reviewed by site workers or people who work very closely with site workers to make sure that we landed the mark. But again, once you see it, we're open to your feedback. And if we didn't quite make it, you can let us know, and we have space to tailor and improve. So just a quick look at the project in numbers. It's one app, 5 minutes of no jargon content, and I'll tell you what modules we're building. 6 languages, so English and the 5 others that I just shared with you. I'll say them again: Bulgarian, Lithuanian, Polish, Punjabi, and Romanian. We have 13 of those 5-minute modules that will be released as part of the pilot. And we also have other objectives across the project, and I'll talk more about these later, but we want to pilot this across 24 sites, and you're here listening because you want to be one of those sites, which is great, and we're really excited about that. We know that it's not enough to just throw an app at a site and say, here, off you go. You need to put enabling and supporting infrastructure around it. So some of these next ones are about making sure that the app lands well, that people understand what it's about, that they can help and support. So across those 24 pilot sites, we want to have 50 site managers and supervisors trained up as FIR ambassadors. Who are FIR ambassadors? FIR ambassadors are some of our most engaged people on FIR. They act as role models for inclusion on site, and they are people who others can look to for leadership, who they can come to for support, and who've put their hands up to say, this is really important to me, and I want to champion this on site. We give them really specific training to help them be able to step up into this role. And then we want every manager and supervisor on the sites that we choose for the pilot to be trained up on the benefits of a more inclusive site. So the why of why we're doing this before we just share the app out to be downloaded. That's really important for us, and we think critical to the success of the project. Overall, what we're hoping for is 1,500 downloads of the app in a 2-year period, and also 9,000 completions of those videos. So that's a quick look at the project in numbers. People also always ask what the modules are, the 13 modules. The first one is called FIR on Site, and this is the introductory model. It basically says, what is fairness, inclusion, and respect? What do we mean by those words, and why is it relevant for workers on site? The next one is practical inclusion. And practical inclusion is really about simple interventions and actions that everyone can do to make a site more inclusive. So really practical tips right out of the gate. Understanding your rights is next. It's about those small tweaks that you can ask for. right? Reasonable adjustments in DEI speak, that can make a difference to people's safety and comfort and performance on site. So that's understanding your rights. Then we talk about the differences between us. So what do we mean by difference? What do differences look like? And this goes beyond the remit of protected characteristics to speak about difference in a more general way. And what are the benefits of embracing those differences on site as well? And why we shouldn't assume. This one is really about bias in DEI language, but really it's what might we miss when we make assumptions about the people who we encounter on site. And speaking up. Speaking up is how you can use your voice to say something if you notice something on site that isn't quite right. And we give some tools and good practice to be able to do that. Banter is next. We talk about what it is and what it isn't, and where the line is, which is really important as we try to build positive relationships on site. There's a module on sexual harassment. As we all know, the law has been updated, and this module reflects that. So it talks about what it is, who could be affected, not just women, where it can happen. So the expansion beyond just the workplace, what is actionable, and what to do if you witness it, which is really important. We talk about how we treat each other. So things that we can say or do that might make people feel excluded and the impacts of that exclusion when people feel it. Mental health. So we worked with our partners, Mates in Mind. They are a charity that deal with mental health, especially in the construction and built environment sector. And they helped us build these two modules around mental health. The first is how to spot the signs of where someone might be struggling, because we know that construction has quite a high suicide rate and quite high incidences of mental health issues. But then the part two of that is how to have a conversation that might help someone. So that's important. Making a difference is about, well, what are you going to do now that you've learned all of these things? And then we have one last and final module, which is leading on site. So this is for anyone who is a site supervisor or manager or in charge of a crew or a section to think about their role as a leader in this work. So 13 modules. I know there are 12 boxes on site. That's for aesthetics, but mental health, there's two. So that's how we get to the 13 modules, in case you're doing the quick maths and wondering how I managed to make that happen. Now, I've been talking for a bit, so I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions. You can ask a question in the chat box if you have one, and there is also Q&A enabled for this. I'm just going to pause for a second. Please also remember that you can ask questions at any point in time. The team is on line with me right now. They might be able to answer you really quickly in the chat box. If you have Q&A, I have these slides from point to point to remind myself to come back to questions. I always have to remind myself to come back for questions. Otherwise, I literally will just keep talking. So you will see these from time to time popping up, but you are free and more than welcome to ask questions in the moment they occur to you. And I promise you that either I or the team will come back and pick them up as and when. So please pop your questions into the chat box or into Q&A, whichever feels more comfortable for you. So the first question is, will we receive a copy of these slides? So you get a recording of the webinar, and yes, we can give you the high level slides as well, no problem. Thank you, Maxine. That's my middle name, so I'm giving it an extra smile. Keep it coming. You can keep. Oh, great. Thank you, Christine. So the name of the app, it's going to be called the Supply Chain School app, and it will launch in the App Store within the week. And the good news is that by joining this webinar, you will be among the first to be notified when the app is live on the App Store. And I'm smiling at that as well, because I know that right now, all we're doing is waiting for the final approval from Apple to see when it goes into the App Store. So everything is ready. It's there with the first two modules. We are just just waiting for that email from Apple, the final one, to say that it's approved. So all of us are on tenterhooks, just looking and checking every second, because we're hoping that today will be the day, fingers crossed. If not, it will be tomorrow. Great. So I'll jump back into it, but please do keep the chat going and please do ask any questions you have when you have them. Next up, I want to show you a little bit of a demo. Now, before I go into it, obviously this isn't live. I haven't plugged in my phone because, like I just said to you, we're waiting for the news on the App Store to see when it will actually go live. Fingers crossed, maybe later today. This is something that's called a Figma. So the team that is building this for us, created a clickable app demo, which anyone can access. And I'll show you where you'll be able to see the link to it. So I'm going to show it to you on screen now. But after this or at some other point, you can actually go and click through yourself and have a little bit of a play while we're waiting for the app to be launched in the App Store. So you can go and do that today. But I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the flow and then come back and you can ask me any other questions. Okay, so if you open the app, this is the very first screen that you will see. Welcome to the supply chain school. And you click the Get Started button. And the first thing it asks you to do is to choose your language. So all of the languages available on screen, you'll choose your language. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the menu options will change based on the language that you choose. So it will be in the language of your choice. Then next, it asks you to choose your employer and your location. This is so that the people at head office or wherever will be able to monitor the use of the app. So you choose your employer and then you also choose the location. My babies. So I put his name in there in the demo. So that's not his number. 6 is way too young to have a phone. So he doesn't have a phone. That's made up. But there you go. So you'd put in your first name, your last name, and your mobile phone number. And then what happens is to verify that that's your number, you get a text message and you put that code in to be able to verify that it's you. That's quite important because if you get logged out and you need to be able to log in again, we need to make sure that you have the correct number so that you don't lose your learning. After that, you are in the app and you can choose a topic. At the moment, the only topic is fairness, inclusion, and respect, but our colleagues across the school will be adding their content in as things progress. So there will be a point in time where you will log into this screen and you will be able to see multiple topics other than FIR, but FIR is the first. As it should be, as it should be. The clue is in the name, FIR first. Right, so modules are being released in stages. And so if you were actually going onto the app in the App Store, you would see the first two live. And they are sequenced, by which I mean you have to complete module 1 before you can move on to module 2. And the reason for that is because the learning builds. So we wouldn't want you to be skipping around and coming across concepts that we haven't taught you about first. So it is like a learning journey. And you start with module 1, you complete module 1, and then you move on to module 2 and so on. So you'd click that button to start module 1. The little arrow that you're seeing on the side that looks like a download is for if you wanted to watch this content offline, like Netflix. You could download it to your phone. That's in case you're in a low signal area or something like that. You could actually download a module. While you are in progress of watching this module video, you will notice that the take the quiz button, because there's a quiz at the end of every module that tests your knowledge. It's grayed out until you've watched the entirety of the video. And then once you have watched the entirety of the video, that little button that says take the quiz becomes enabled, which is great. So then every quiz is about five, not about, it is exactly 5 questions, multiple choice, and you have to get 4 out of 5 questions correct in order to be able to pass the module. So this would be an example of a quiz. You select your option and correct answer, do all of your answers, and then you log those in and press the submit button for all of the questions, and then you get scored. If you get 4 or more correct, it will say congratulations. If you didn't, it will ask you to try again. We have a question bank that's bigger than 5 questions, and they are chosen at random. So you'll get another set of questions if you didn't pass the first time, and you'll get to have another go. If you have 2 tries and you didn't manage to pass the 5 question assessment, it will loop you back to watch the video again before you can have another try. Once you have successfully completed and you've gotten an achievement, all your achievements are stored within the app itself. You get a little certificate for each module that you've completed, which will look something like this with a picture on the top. Who it's been awarded to and when, with a little signature on there. And then this is just to show you that you can update your profile at any point in time in the app. So if you did change your phone number, you would be able to update that and it would revalidate you. And you could also change the site that you're working on and your employer if you changed jobs and locations. Now, I know that that question panel was lighting up while I was chatting, so I'm going to go in now and answer some questions. So, okay. So is it available on Android? Yes, Apple and Android, both. So it will be in the Google Play Store and in the Apple Store. So yes, for both. How can we as a business keep track of our people using the app? Stephanie, great question. There is the app, but then there is a companion backend for administrators on a particular site. So as we sign sites up for a pilot, each site will appoint an administrator or several administrators who will get access to the back end of the system. There, they will be able to see their learners and keep track of reporting, etc., in the way that you've asked. So you would designate people to become the administrators for your particular site. So, Christine, are we willing to present to senior managers at Ballimore? Absolutely, yes. I think Nick got back to your email yesterday and he will be in touch about setting that up. So yes. Maxine is asking, will our company be set up if you're joining the pilot? Yes, absolutely. We put those details in for you so that you would be able to access it. But there is also a way to manually add. But if you are officially part of the pilot, we put that in for you and work with you to create a seamless process for your people who will be using the app. Keith asking a great question about AI. So in terms of written content in the app, AI did the first round of translations, and then we actually worked with a translation company, actual human beings at Absolute Translations, to verify the translations that are present within the app. So yes, they were originally AI generated, but human checked for conversational language, right? Because the way that you might say something formally and the way that you might say it in a more conversational tone might vary. So they checked for that and also checked for other inaccuracies. So we did both. In terms of the actual dubbing of the videos, those were AI generated, but again, they were also checked by reviewers for pronunciation. So we did both. It's not an AI solution on its own, it's an AI solution for effectiveness backed by human work. So is there an area, Christina's asking, where we can track usage? Yes. So there is a separate sort of WordPress backend that will enable you to do it. Stephen is asking, if you complete something on the app and then go to the website, will the information be completed and vice versa? No, it won't. The app is standalone and different from the Supply Chain School's website. So we did not go for integration in this round, in this first round, because it's just a pilot. However, if the test case is proven and this works, then we will think about integration. So integration is a really big burden and takes time. This is us testing whether or not this will work at all. So we haven't gone for integration for this stage of the pilot. But if this works in the way that we hope it does, that is something that will come next. You all are asking great questions. Can you watch the video multiple times before taking the test? Absolutely. So once the video gets to the end, you do not have to click the button to take the test unless you want to. You can repeat it. You can download a transcript if you choose to read it, if that's easier for you than watching the video as well. So you can watch it multiple times if you choose before you take the test. Yes. Wow, you all asked some brilliant questions, which I was really pleased to be able to answer. Please do keep them coming. If you have others, we'd like to know about them as well. And by the way, for those of you who do sign up, you are more than welcome to provide feedback to us when you do see the app and have a chance to use it yourself. Brilliant questions, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's have a little chat about joining the pilot. By the way, on screen, you're seeing two members of the FIR team, Sarah and Syra, there in the middle. And that's Andrea, our videographer, and one of the site workers who appears in the third module. His name is Hero. There you go. Right. So everyone who signs up to be a part of the pilot is agreeing to have the app and use the app. But like I mentioned, they're supporting infrastructure to make sure that this goes successfully. So you are agreeing, if you sign up to the pilot, to train all site managers and supervisors on the sites where you want this to be rolled out on the benefits of FIR. This is a 2-hour course for which we will provide a trainer and for which we have developed materials that have been approved by CITB. So the materials exist. We will provide a trainer. You will tell us what date and time, or dates and times, to arrive and where you want to run it. And together we will work on getting that rolled out across your site. So you don't have to worry about finding a trainer to do this and where the materials will come from. We have them and we will work with you to make this happen. And every site where this is being rolled out needs to have at least 2 FIR ambassadors. So 2 is the minimum, but we're hoping that you will train more than 2, especially where sites are larger. And as part of the benefits of FIR course at the very end, we talk about what a FIR ambassador is and encourage those attending to step up into the role of a FIR ambassador and to attend the next training. You will again be unsurprised that we have materials for this as well, which are CITB endorsed, and we will also provide a trainer to roll this out for you on a date and time that works. Now, across the duration of the project, for across a year, we're also asking to host 3 site stand downs that center around FIR on your site that you've selected for the pilot. The 3 stand downs can be on any of the topics that are currently included in the pilot. You get to choose which 3 are you think would be most relevant for you and your site. And again, we will send a trainer to your premises to help you run these stand downs. And it's a very collaborative process that we would do together. We are having posters designed about the app and the training that's included that we will ask you to display on sites to just make people aware of it and to keep it front of mind. And we're asking you to encourage the use of the app on site as well at various points, which is why it's important to train site managers, supervisors, and the people who are in charge. And then we're asking for your open and honest feedback because it's really important to us that we get this right when this goes wider than just the pilot. And so we really need to partner with people who are not going to be shy about saying, well, this doesn't work and this really needs to be tweaked and this would help us make this better and so on. So again, just to recap, because this is really important, we don't want anyone walking away saying, I'm joining the pilot, and all that's involved in the pilot is that the supply chain school will hand over this app to us at the end. We are asking for things like, before the app is deployed, that all site managers and supervisors on the sites that you've chosen are trained up. We're asking that you have at least 2 FIR ambassadors in place. We're asking you to commit to holding 3 site stand downs on FIR topics over the course of 12 months. We're asking for posters to be displayed. We print these, by the way, and give them to you, so you don't have to create them again. We'll give them to you. We're asking you to promote the app and encourage its use on site, and also to provide feedback to us about the app to help us make it the very best that it can be. I'll stop there again for any questions. Okay, now people have already said, will I get access to the slides? You absolutely will, and you will have access to the recording. But I also just want you to know that if you needed more information about this project, there is a website that we have built specifically about it. When we are sharing notes out after the session, we will include a link to this website, but I just want to show you a little bit about what it looks like and what information we have on there. So it tells you a little bit about the app and when it launches. We're advertising these 2 webinars. We'll delete one of them after today's session runs. There's a little bit about why it's important, but you can also view the entirety of the first module. So if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, what does this 5-minute content look like? You can actually view the first module right here on this page. So be sure to check that out. The app in numbers is available there as well. There's a little bit of a project update to tell you where we are and sharing some images from all of the filming that we've been doing. The key partners on it are listed. And then here is a bit that you'll probably want to look at more closely, the module preview. So the 13 modules, 2 on mental health and what they are all about. They are listed there for you so you can check them out. Remember, I mentioned that there was a clickable demo of the app. You can access it from the website, so you can try the demo as well, the clickable demo when you visit the website. And then if you have any questions, you want to join the pilot, you can click to contact us as well. So we actually have a great summary of all of the information that you need to be able to get started right here, all on a single page in a single view. So just didn't want you to forget about that as you start thinking about whether or not this might be right for you. So I'll pause again there in case there are any additional questions. Now, if you don't have any questions, I have some questions for you just before we wrap up today's webinar. Feel free to type your answers in the chat as you have been doing. I said to you that our learning modules have a little quiz at the end. This is my version of the little quiz for today. It's not difficult, I promise. So, first question, the only thing your organization needs to do to join the pilot is get people to download the app. Is that true or false? Tell me in the chat. False. It's totally false. That's right. Totes. Okay, so there are a bunch of things Did I relink them? I didn't, but I'll tell you, we want 2 FIR ambassadors on your site. We want your site managers and supervisors to be trained up about the benefits of FIR. We're asking you to put some posters up as well. All of those things, right? Really important. Thank you so much for playing along. Oh, here's another one. What is the minimum number of FIR ambassadors that each pilot? There you go. Everyone's in there. Yeah, it's B2. That's the absolute minimum. You can have a whole bunch more if you'd like. That's absolutely fine, but 2 is the minimum. Skipping ahead. Question 3. As part of the pilot, you agree to train all your site managers and supervisors on the benefits of FIR. Everybody's in there. Totally true. Absolutely. How many site stand downs on FIR does each pilot site agree to have across 12 months? We're getting C3, C3, C3. Absolutely. That's totally the answer. I feel very assured that everyone was listening. This is great. And I think, oh, I've given you the answer to this one. What can you find on the project website? You can find an app demo, a sample module, a link to sign up for the pilot, all of those things. It's all of the above. So please do feel free to check those out as well after we wrap this webinar. So that was just a quick reminder, but I think we're there. I think we've got it. If you are ready to join the pilot, you can send us an email if you haven't already done so, or also there is a form that you can fill out to register your interest. We will link this in the follow-up email as well to make sure that you have everything that you need. If you are sitting in this session and you're thinking, I really want someone else from my organization to hear this in the same way that I'm hearing it, we are going to run this session again on the 23rd of October at exactly the same time, 12 to 1 in the lunchtime slot. Please do share the link. Someone on the team is actually going to put it in the chat in a second, and encourage other people to register if you'd like them to hear the message delivered in the same way. And we will also send you a link to this second session. Oh, there we go. As if by magic, in email as well. So there you go. And also, one last plug before I let you go. We have filmed the content for the first 6 modules already. We are going to very shortly be filming the content, the site worker content for the next 7 modules. If you fancy being on the other side of the camera or getting involved in the actual creation of content for the modules for the project, please do get in touch. We would love to hear from you about that. If you'd like to feature in the modules, it's great. And when you go and watch the sample module, you'll be able to see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Becca, please email us. Somebody's going to drop the FIR team email into the chat as well. Email us. We would love to have more faces and voices getting involved. And then just a final thank you from me for listening and for joining today. You can always email fir@supplychainschool.co.uk if you have any additional questions, or please do find me on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with everyone on the webinar, and that's a great way to be able to find out critical information about the product, about the project, and also the work of the FIR program more generally. So thank you so much again for your enthusiasm, for listening, for all of your questions in the Q&A. If you log out of the webinar and you suddenly have a pressing question, you can always email us. Please also contact me on LinkedIn. And if you have listened and heard all of the things and you still really want to be a part of the pilot, we would love to have you. We feel like this is really important for the industry overall, and we can't wait to have you on board. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for that. We appreciate you. Thank you.